Rupert Fike's second collection of poems, Hello, the House, was named one of the books all Georgians should read, 2018. It's an understatement. It should be read much more widely. And this was done by the Georgia Center for the Book, understandably. Other centers of the book could take it up too. It also won the Haas Poetry Prize from Snake Nation Press. His stories and poems have appeared in the Southern Poetry Review, the Scalawag Magazine, the Georgetown Review, ANU America's AIDS Magazine, the Flannery O'Connor Review, the Buddhist Poetry Review, and others. He also has a poem inscribed in downtown Atlanta Plaza, and you can, of course, experience that, but you'll have to be in Atlanta to experience that. Here we are, very fortunate, very lucky to have Rupert Fike.
Thank you. The past few years with Zoom, we've gotten to see the insides of houses in Pakistan and India and Israel. Just I don't know, maybe it's a gift of COVID or something, but and today we just it's very rich. So 100,000 poets for change, and you go, why can't 100,000 poets do something? Why is it still going on? The same music is playing over and over again, the same jukebox, the same tune. And then I didn't know what I was going to read today. And then I saw the news article about the Russian college students being pulled from their dorms, being drafted to go to the Ukraine. And Ukrainian kids are also, wanting to be brave. It just reminded me of my college years when I was in the Vietnam War. Truly, if there was ever a useless war, it was Vietnam. So this was originally in Scalawag Magazine. University of Georgia Dormitory, 1967. There was a war going on and we wanted to be brave. Yet we studied deep into each night to stay out of the war. That was our one chance to prove we were brave. The chance Phil from Cordeal got after failing chemistry 121 and losing his deferment. Phil, who was clumsy, not good at sports. We shook our heads at the thought of his head, his fuzzy cheeks, and a too big helmet, a boy out on search and destroy, pushing his way through chest-high grass. We searched for familiar faces on the nightly news in the TV room of our dorm. 200 Phils a week were being killed. There was a war going on and we wanted to be brave. We dreamed of pulling hurt children from fiery car wrecks just before they exploded, but there were no fiery car wrecks. There was only the war, where cousins flew Huey helicopters outside of Pleiku, and we did not. Fighting out in college just isn't right, we told our parents. All right then, father said, enlist. We didn't want to go that far. Krishna told Arjuna he had to go fight. Hector's body was defiled outside Troy. God told Abraham, kill me a son. The line Bob Dylan used on a record we sometimes played in our metal desk rooms where we studied while not being brave. So it's like everybody does want to be brave in their lives, no matter, it doesn't have to be a war, it could be any number of decisions we made, but that was ours. And then, the postscript of all that is that Vietnam is now a united country and it's communist and nobody seems to care. And Americans buy the airplane loads, fly into Vietnam. It's a great destination. It's a great ecotourism. And there were 55,000 Americans killed, as we all know from that, there's a wall in Washington, D.C. And, just countless Vietnamese, over millions, to be sure. So the last point I'm going to read is like, fast forward, this is from my first book, Lotus Buffet, which is a play on all the drugs I took. That my life up to this point was a buffet of lotus. I wanted to call it Lotus Smorgasbord, but that doesn't really scan very well. But, so it's Lotus Buffet. There's a book in here, Franny and Zoe by J.D. Salinger, which has kind of fallen out of favor, but in the 60s, it was just really, really big. It influenced a lot of people, it influenced me. Because Salinger first wrote Catching the Rye, which was like the great rebellious kid, which we all wanted to be, that rebellious kid. But then this next few books were about the Glass family, wherein he got into Eastern religion. And so he was sneaky. He infected all of us with what it was like to be a Buddhist or a Hindu, or just, and we're Americans. And so we went for it. This is called Prideful Buddhist. This is like 2 years after the first poem, where I was in the dorm. Prideful Buddhist, you drop out of college your senior year and become a townie garbage man in a spiritual crisis, which is the polite term for taking too much acid too soon after reading Franny and Zoe, wherein Franny leaves her dreadful weekend date to commence a new life of ceaseless prayer right there in a restaurant bathroom. Her break becoming the model for your break from all this. Okay, you're inarticulate, but at least you're not 3 chapters behind in everything anymore. Plus, you're making $1.50 an hour hanging on a bad muffled garbage truck, hopping off while the thing is still rolling, for dragging the can, dumping the can, tossing it back before your sharp whistle, which still needs work, to slam the driver, your parents in shock, repeating, this is just a phase. Rupert, this is just a phase, which of course is their constant mumbling prayer. Their concerns so the same as Franny's mother's when she put the praying girl on their East Side couch, brought in soup and smart brothers who only made things worse, rattling on about the 5 noble truths, bodhisattvas, all of this no help to her or no help to you. But at least you have stopped hiding out from the war. You watch the poor kids fight on TV every night. You will soon take a physical, but until then, you make cowboy coffee in the morning, and on cold nights, you buy a short bag of coal from Preacher's little shack by the side tracks down at the bottom of College Avenue. And when they switch you from garbage to leaves and limbs, you make a scene. You make a grand show of refusal because Leaves and Limbs is an all-white crew, a cleaner truck. It ruins everything, all your selfless aspirations. But wait, now you've become Franny's bad date, his Flaubert paper pride, no different from yours, when any true seeker should know by now, all garbage trucks end up at the same dump. Thank you so much.
Native of Atlanta, earned his BA degree from Morehouse College and executive certification at Harvard University Kennedy School of Government. He has enjoyed multi-professions, executive in corporate America, professional theater manager, company in-house, consultant in arts, events, and community building. He owns an art gallery, professional curator of art exhibits, and successful CEO of, of an affordable housing and community revitalization nonprofit. He consults in those various areas. Most times you can find him exploring his joy of writing, poetry, short stories, essays, plays, and nonfiction. He's a proud author of Images Finally Focused. He also enjoys reading and exploring other writers, art of a writers group, which I was also privileged to be included in. Love is Poetry, and I'm very grateful to him that he's here. Over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Akash. And it's great to be here at Agnes, Scott. I'm going to share, I thought you were going to make those bios brief.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries. I am going to share two writers, one that I recently discovered, and then I'm also going to share some work that I have in progress. The first writer I'm sharing with you is C.R. Pouncey. He was a part of a movement in the 80s, and I just recently discovered him. There were these Black men, same gender loving Black men who came together in the 80s, dealing with coming out in terms of their gayness, and as well as dealing with the AIDS epidemic. And they met at Arrow Park, which is in the Hudson Valley in New York. And this is C.R. Pouncey's reaction to that experience. And it really moved me, and hopefully you'll have the same experience. Standing in a weary land, poised at the edge of history, I heard a voice cry out, "Behold, I will do new things." They were strangers, children of strangers, strangers to themselves. Beloved of the sun, dark against the blue sky. And she called them, and she called them out. And they came from towers standing impudent, from shacks near Yamasee, from the city of friends and bombs, from the world and from the world arriving. She called them, and she called them out. And they came across the land, across fear and loathing, across treachery and the rumor of death. They heard her call. "My children," she said, and some heard "my warriors," and came fresh from battles in the streets of Brooklyn and in the valley of Negro life. "My children," she said, and some heard "my scribes," and they came open to her word, and it burned joyously in their minds and illuminated their voices. "My children," she said, and some heard "my prophets," and came pregnant, bursting with the truth ready on their lips. And they came as men, holding men they love nearby and fast in their minds. And when they came together, it was like attending your birth. It was like opening your eyes. It was the Holy Ghost. Cradled on an altar of weary arms, I fell in love 19 times forever. Just above my head, I heard a voice cry out, "Behold." These are some haikus that I started working on before COVID, and they were centered around gentrification, but they've evolved into something else. And so I don't have a working title anymore. I'm only reading 5 of them, as haikus are hard. Anyway, plantations denied, slave families unity, fallen leaves, roots rot. Mulatto babies sired by masters in the dark, sheared blooms cast aside. To know is power. Literate blacks once slaughtered, fertile flowers pruned. teenage pregnancies, heritage, poverty-prone, cloudy days and storms. Black boys' mothers pray. Each hope sons won't be prey, and seeds bloom to plant life. And my last one is by my absolute favorite poet, Langston Hughes. I had a chance to hear him read and see him at Clark College, which is now Clark AU. And it's his Dream Variations. And I just love this piece. To fling my arms wide in some place of the sun, to whirl and dance till the white day is done, then rest at cool evening beneath a tall tree when night comes on gently, dark like me. That is my dream, to fling my arms wide in the face of the sun, dance, whirl, whirl, till the quick day is done. Rest at pale evening, a tall, slim tree, night coming tenderly, black like me. Thank you.